Until Deborah Kafoury, I don't think most people could tell you what the Multnomah County Chair did. Very few people see the enormous responsibility that one person carries for more than 900,000 people who live in the county, and what it's like to be the person who has to build and carry out the plan to serve those people, but especially those who need the county the most. It's a remarkable and often pretty terrible job. You have to respond daily, even hourly, to crisis. To be in the literal business of saving lives in an emergency, while at the same time, you are managing a large, complex, even boring bureaucracy that no matter what is happening, still has to make sure that the jails are open, that restaurants are safe to visit, that marriage licenses are issued, that the Willamette River bridges work, that every new refugee to Oregon sees a Multnomah County doctor, that lost animals can be found.
The COVID-19 global pandemic touched every corner of public and private life for a long time. And it was really hard. It wasn't always clear what the right thing to do was, but I always felt like Chair Kafoury was willing to take in the information and really do her best and support all of us to do our best in supporting our community through that and responding to that emergency, which is ongoing. One memory I have in the very early days, when we were just trying to convey the gravity of what was happening and we were contemplating lockdowns, and I saw Chair Kafoury work so many of her relationships with the business community, with schools, with arts and cultural foundations, and I saw her just create a direct line of dialogue that she welcomed me into to try to get people on board with what was happening and where we were headed.
The past few years in public safety service have been the most difficult in my career. And having Deborah as the person that we could go to help with some of the difficult issues around the pandemic, running congregate settings like a jail during a pandemic, the challenges were immense. And she created alignment between all of our different offices and departments in the county and public health. I think Deborah embodies the very best in public servants, and I know that her deep family connection to service has given her the ability to have confidence and a vision of where, as a leader, to take an organization, to take the county. And that inspires people around her, not just the staff that work for her, but other elected leaders. And you know that she's doing her very best in tumultuous times to guide us as a county. She gives everything to the position that she's been elected to.
The word unprecedented is kind of interesting in that, a lot of the disasters we deal with and a lot of disasters the chair's seen, we had, Eagle Creek fire, unprecedented. We had COVID, unprecedented. Heat dome, unprecedented. The chair at one point was just like, can we please not use that word? It seems like if we're having one or two of these every year, we might not be applying it right, but they are. No one likes it when I call them. When I'm calling you at 10 p.m., it's typically not just to sort of say hi and give you good news. So there's something going on. I can't remember a time where the chair wasn't responsive to that message. And her ability to contemplate what's going on and then be decisive when we could be decisive, we felt like we needed to be decisive to make a decision on the community's behalf. It's something that I've always recognized.
I have many memories of talking with Deborah on the weekends as she walked around her neighborhood in Southeast Portland. And that's where she does her best thinking. And I think whether it was sort of Sunday morning or Saturday afternoon, getting a phone call where immediately she'd been thinking about something and had a new idea to share, a potential solution, or had realized a roadblock that we needed to take under consideration. And that became part of the normal course of how we did our work, especially over the last 3 years. And I came to realize that that was what it took to do this work. That's what it would take to help save people's lives. Because there is no weekend break when you're trying to respond to severe weather or a pandemic or a crisis in our community. And Deborah Kafoury really sets the stage for that.
I think that if Deborah's leaving behind any kind of legacy, it's a legacy that says that all people deserve a safe place to call home, that all people deserve the opportunity at a better life, and the idea that in order to do that, we all have to come together across political ideologies to move in the same direction, to support our community to be better. And it's really that simple. And that's not an easy task for a leader given our political environment.
I've observed Chair Kafoury spearhead the Domicile Unknown Report, which led to a lot of the early conversation about naloxone, which is now, I mean, it's almost everywhere. You could almost get it without a prescription, but that took some change. And she was at the forefront of that. I saw her take on the emergence of electronic cigarettes and flavored nicotine and a completely unregulated market for a highly addictive substance. And she didn't stop there. She continues, as I'm talking, to consider a flavored tobacco ban in Multnomah County. So she's really taken tobacco and nicotine seriously during her tenure.
One of the things I really admire about Deborah is that no matter how challenging the issue, she knows that solutions are possible. And she breaks it down into really simple categories so that the whole community can understand and get behind a vision of people having a safe place to call home, a vision of clean air and clean water for everybody all the time, a vision of a climate that our future generations can safely live in.
There's a Winston Churchill quote, we shape our buildings and then they shape us. We need to work together, and Chair Kafoury has always understood that need, and I think that the courthouse project is a wonderful example where it was a county-state collaboration that required a change of legislation in order to allow for that collaboration to occur, and she as a leader understood the importance of continuing that collaboration, and as a result, we're sitting in a building that is not only seismically safe, which was a big factor in the old courthouse, but also so much better meets the needs of our community.
I don't think it's hard to be a leader. I think it's hard to be a good leader, and it's hard to be an effective leader. She's a systems thinker, and the reason that's really important, particularly in my selfish public safety space, is to really see the intersectionality of all of the work that public systems, including the county and others, do, and how policy, budgeting, and practice decisions absolutely impact one another. And that's the way she thinks.
I really am proud of the way that Chair Kafoury was willing to take that first step out and to have the Sun system be the pilot that really led the way for a kind of work that ushered in a kind of a new wave of how we do our community-based contracting. And over the course of even the last 4 or 5 years, we've more than doubled the amount of investments that we've made into organizations that are in communities of color. She has a vision for what she wants to see, and she's not afraid to fight to get there, to take on the big battles. And even something that hasn't been done before, she's like, we can do it, or we can try. And I think that's pretty inspiring, and it gets you fired up.
Through Chair Kafoury's fierce leadership and holding us accountable, we had the opportunity to use the Behavioral Health Resource Center to get it right in terms of really incorporating consumer and peer voice at the inception of the project.
Most politicians make very calculated decisions based upon what's popular at any given moment. And so the vast majority of politicians I've ever worked with never really cared about the poor, unfortunately. And I think Deborah's somebody, along with the former Commissioner Nick Fish, who believed in the idea that everybody does deserve an opportunity in life, a place to call home.
Being the Multnomah County Chair is hands down the best job that I could ever imagine having. And that's when people ask me, what are you doing next? It's going to take me a while to find something else that's going to be as meaningful as this job. I mean, I could spend 4 hours talking about all the fantastic aspects of it. And then you get to see the people whose lives are touched by the work on a daily basis. The staff who work at Multnomah County are incredible, everyone. It's just the showing up every day for our community, which like they've done for years before, but especially during the pandemic and will continue to do, they don't get enough credit. They are unsung heroes, every single one of them.
Thank you, Deborah, for remaining steadfast and tenacious in your efforts to be able to create a housing justice movement.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You have shown great leadership.
For centering health and the health of the community in your leadership.
And I know, not just as a director of emergency management, but as a citizen of Multnomah County, I couldn't be more appreciative to see these programs move forward and improve.
I really appreciate your friendship. It's been a joy to work with you over the years.
And that I have gotten to go on this journey with you. There's no one else I would want to do this with.